Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. If history even somewhat repeats, just kind of rhymes with itself, we are in for some serious fireworks sooner than later. And I know we've been talking about that a lot in the world of crypto. I have on this channel the expectations that even though there's been a ton of sideways action for a good half a year at this point, we are at some point going to break away. We're not going to stay here forever. So then it's a question of, do we break to the downside ultimately in some sort of dramatic fashion? Was the best already behind us? We're not going to see some sort of blow off top, or is the best yet ahead? Well, again, if history kind of rhymes with itself, more or less repeats itself, the best is certainly yet ahead. For Bitcoin, for ETH, for XRP, pick your coin. Now, of course, the one that I think we're most interested in, I can't speak for everybody listening, but that would probably be XRP. XRP has been so tightly coiled and so suppressed for so long. When this thing goes, whew, and again, there's very good reason to anticipate that this is what is most likely to occur. Now, given that we're mostly engaged in a little bit of sideways price action, there's not a crazy amount to talk about, so I don't want to belabor all of these points. But there are some interesting things I do want to touch on, but I'm going to try and keep this video a little bit shorter than some of the other market updates that I've been having, where they've been more like 20, 25 minutes. And then just for fun at the end, I'm going to cover this. Because these stories, they pop up every now and then, and they are always fascinating me. Look at this. Like, who are these people? Look at this. From the Daily Hodl. Ancient Bitcoin address awakens after lying low since 2011, moves $4.1 million in Bitcoin at 6.4 million% profit. Who is this person? Did you find some Bitcoin under the couch? You find where were you hiding this damn key? Did you not know where it is, and you wake up 13 years later, not even quite at the all-time, you just find it and you start selling? It's interesting. But I will say this, I anticipate there's going to be stories like this with XRP holders too. Because it can happen for a whole number of reasons. Maybe somebody actually was already ridiculously wealthy and had this and then was like, oh, fine, what the hell, let's sell a little bit now. Who knows what the reasons are? But I wouldn't be surprised if most of these stories result from people just regaining access or real, oh my God, I do have the key. And then it's just like, I just won the lottery effectively, right? But anyway, before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. So I record this video. It is exactly 8 p.m. Central Time, Thursday, August 29th, 2024. We have XRP at 56 cents, Bitcoin at $59,314. So, like I said at the outset, a lot of sideways price action, not a crazy amount of volatility across the board over the last 24 hours. Crypto Fear and Greed Index, 34 out of 100, so the market is in fear, but it ain't gonna stay there. I'll tell you that. Take a look at this headline from the Daily Hodl. Speaking exactly on this topic, in fact. Bitcoin on cusp of entering parabolic phase if history repeats itself, says crypto analyst. Here's the timeline. And so I am counting on this. Bitcoin always leads the way historically, so even if you don't give a damn about Bitcoin, you want XRP to go to the moon, so Lambo occur. Yeah, I got it. But then you should be excited for this. You should hope that this happens. And they're talking about a very popular analyst that I've been following for a number of years. Now, he does seem to think that the Bitcoin halving is a trigger for all this, which I just respectfully agree, disagree rather, but I'm always willing to share perspective from people on my channel, even if they disagree with me. And so we can disagree on the trigger. I mean, I would argue it's the roughly 4-year liquidity cycles, and he might believe that it's, the roughly 4-year Bitcoin halving that's triggering this, and I think that that's easy to debunk. But either way, whatever the trigger is, in terms of the timing, yeah, this makes a lot of sense. So anyway, piece reads as follows. A cryptocurrency analyst and trader is saying that Bitcoin is on the cusp of turning bullish. The analyst, pseudonymously known as Rect Capital, tells his 84,700 YouTube subscribers that Bitcoin is in a reaccumulation phase and is getting really close to entering the parabolic phase of the cycle. According to the pseudonymous analyst, Bitcoin is weeks away from breaking out above the current record high of around $73,800 based on historic precedent. And of course, happy to note, pretty much like almost 100% of the analysts that I followed, I consider them to be reputable. They agree that this thing is going to break. It's just kind of a question of when. And if it doesn't, then this time would be different, which would be a little bit weird. Because usually that's like, those are famous last words. This time is different, man. I mean, maybe, but almost certainly not. But look, I've been in so many of these types of moments since I jumped into crypto in 2017. You get beat up and then people get bored, and it's because it's a ton of sideways price action. The one that jumps out to me most actually is the one from about 4 years ago. I mean, I remember 2020, August 2020, and September, and maybe a little bit before and a little bit after that. XRP, I mean, God, it was just sideways price action. Like XRP was around 22 cents, 25 cents, 23 cents, then 27 cents, then 22 cents. And it seemed like it was doing that forever and was never going to stop. Until one day you woke up and it stopped doing that. And it went on a run. I mean, in very short order. I can't remember how quickly. I remember it was a day or 2 or 3 or 4, whatever it was. But it went from a little over 20 cents is my recollection to over 80 cents. Like it was super fast, and I think that started, it could have been October, maybe, no, it was the beginning part of November, I think. I'd have to look at a chart to be sure, but either way, the point is, it just felt like it was never going to happen, and then it did. We're in one of those moments now. So one day you wake up, it'll be going, and that'll be a fun day to make a YouTube video. Like, I'll be very excited for that. But in the meantime, I know what's most probably, almost certainly going to occur in the very short order, and so I'm still excited. I think this is one of those moments where it makes a ton of sense to be excited for what's going to occur in the future. But anyway, here's the quote from the analyst Direct Capital. 214 days after the halving is typically when we are already breaking out into a new micro uptrend, because 214 days after halving, we should be already on our way to new highs. Technically, we are over 2 months away from breaking out to new all-time highs and really enjoying that price discovery, end quote. This anonymous analyst says that based on history, the bull market peak for this cycle could occur around September 2025. Quote, if you think about how long it takes for Bitcoin to rally to new all-time highs and to that ultimate bull market peak after the halving, it takes 546 days or 518 days. For example, in 2020 and 2021, it took 546 days after halving to bull market peak. And he's got charts on the screen here, by the way, in case you want to take a look. And in this cycle of 2016 and 2017, that took 518 days after the halving. So it just showcases to us that it takes 518 to 546 days after the halving to rally to a bull market peak, end quote. So will this time be different? I know lots of analysts are expecting that it's most probable that we're going to see the peak of this cycle very late this year or towards the beginning part of 2025. But there are some who think that it could run a bit later. So even if it happens 12 months, I don't care as long as it goes down. But, on the flip side, let's say it doesn't. It's not gonna ruin my life. It's not gonna change anything. I don't need to cash out now. I'll wait however many years I need to if that's actually the end of the cycle and the market comes back. Of course it will come back with a vengeance. So I will just patiently hold regardless. My plan doesn't change no matter what. Either I'm sufficiently enticed to sell at some point in the future, or I'm not. And until that happens, I ain't gonna be crying, I'll tell you that. I'll just keep earning new money and probably buy more stuff. There's also this post from Daily Hodl. Arthur Hayes says Fed will ramp up money printer, dramatically increasing monetary supply, boosting Bitcoin. Okay, so this is something that we know is of crucial importance, because the more money that's available, the more liquidity there is thrown into the system, the more of that, like at least a certain percentage, will get thrown into this asset class. So whatever you think about the Fed rate cuts, which, by the way, I mean, we pretty well signaled, Jerome Powell did, that it's going to happen. Whatever you think about that, whatever it's likely to do in terms of recession or not recession, ultimately harm or hurt markets, even if it ultimately does cause recession and harm markets, which don't have to happen at the same time, by the way, even if that's the case, I would not be surprised if it runs up first, because there is historic precedent for that. But Arthur Hayes is a BitMEX co-founder, and he said the following, quote, some point to historical situations where the stock market fell as the Fed cut rates. Some fear that the Fed cutting rates is a leading indicator of a United States and, by extension, developed market recession. That might be true, but if the Fed is cutting rates when inflation is above target and growth is strong, imagine what they will do if there actually is a U.S. recession. They will ramp up the money printer and dramatically increase the money supply. That leads to inflation, which could be bad for certain types of businesses. But for assets in finite supply like Bitcoin, it will provide a trip at light speed to the moon, end quote. So that's one way to look at it. Well, even if the Fed wants to continue debasing the dollar and destroy businesses, at least Bitcoin go up, right? And so, if that happens, given that the stock market and Bitcoin are all just, it's all just treated as risk on assets, I would be surprised if it benefited one asset class and not the other. So if that's indeed the case, number go up for us, right? There's also this post from chart analyst Mustache, and he shared the following with his 132,000 followers on X. Hashtag Bitcoin. Position yourself accordingly. Summer/chop season ends soon. I expect new highs in 2024. So that's one more friendly reminder. We cannot and will not stay ranging here forever. Bitcoin won't, and XRP won't. Something is going to happen, and I'm anticipating it's going to be very forceful, based on historic precedent. And if you look at XRP specifically, my God, that thing is coiled up like a son of a bitch. That thing is going to blow. There's also this post from Mustache. Hashtag altcoins. Time for an update. Altcoins are still in retest after breaking out of a 9-month falling wedge. Inverse head and shoulders pattern also looks good. Patience, higher soon. And this chart, it's a dominance percentage chart for the entire crypto asset class, excluding the top 10 coins by market cap. It's pretty low. It's kind of amazing how much of the entire market cap is consumed, like for the entire asset class, it's just consumed by the top 10 coins. Because at the time he took this screen grab, it looked like the rest only made up like 9.53% of the entire crypto asset. It was like tens of thousands of coins. And like 90% of it's in the top 10. That's crazy. Well, Bitcoin's probably got like, half of it or so. It's pretty well. Here, actually, let's take a look at that. It probably is about half, right? So the market cap for the asset class, 2.1 trillion, and Bitcoin's got 1.17 trillion. So a little over half. I don't mind it. Hey, as long as Bitcoin keeps rocketing to the upside and then some people sell and then a bunch of those profits flow into XRP and other coins, cool. I don't care if Bitcoin's always number one. And maybe it will be. I don't know. That's a conversation for a separate video. But I'm cool with it. I ain't no damn maximalist. I just want to have a Lamborghini that is geographically placed on the moon. Is that too much to ask? I think not. Here's a post from chart analyst Dr. Magic, XRP chart here. You would think that there would be some rise in open interest on XRP since it's holding up really well and retraced the whole dump, but that is not the case. Open interest is near the baseline that we form bottoms. Really good sign. So that's interesting. So where are the gamblers? And that's a great thing. Like I always see Credible Crypto talking about this when he starts, because he'll look at this stuff for various coins. And anytime he starts talking about how you haven't seen a ramp back up in open interest, but the price is where it is, that's a factor to consider as far as when it might be actually finally making a local bottom. So that's why Dr. Magic here, I think, is saying probably a really good sign, because you get rid of the degenerate gamblers, basically, right? They're gone. And then we have this. Ancient Bitcoin address awakens after lying low since 2011, moves $4.1 million in Bitcoin at 6.4 million % profit. That is insane. You guys will have to tell me what's most probable. Honestly, drop a comment below. I would love to know. Do you think that this is a person who had access to the keys the whole time, or they somehow regained access to an account or came across some sort of drive with the information? Some people, I suppose, in certain circumstances, you really could have that type of willingness to wait, but why now exactly? I guess if I had to guess, because it's just so unlikely, it's so wild. For fun, if I had to guess, I'd say probably they regained access to an account or found an account that they didn't think they had anymore, whatever it may be. Something to that effect, they found the keys. But who knows? All we know is that we can see it because it's a public blockchain. So anyway, an ancient Bitcoin address moved 64.59 Bitcoin over the weekend after sitting on it for more than 13 and a half years. And this is the moment. My God. I mean, if they had access to it, I want to know. Why not when Bitcoin was like $73,000? Why now? I don't know. I don't know. Why is it getting moved now is the question. Anyway, the unknown wallet first received the Bitcoin in February 2011 when the top crypto asset was priced at 99.8 cents per Bitcoin. 99 cent Bitcoin. Meanwhile, meaning the entire trove, and again, this is over 64 Bitcoin, the entire collection of this Bitcoin that this person has was only worth $64.46 at the time. So it went from that to over $4 billion. Anyway, the crypto tracker BitInfo Charts, which clocked the transaction, notes that the same trove of Bitcoin was worth $4.142 million when the wallet moved it on Saturday, an increase of more than 6.426 million %. So, I don't know exactly what it is, but these stories, I always find them interesting. I almost always click on them when I see these headlines. I don't know. I don't know what the hell's behind this. Why is it moving now? Interesting. Maybe they're preparing for way higher. I don't know. Pretty well. But I really, like I said at the outset of the video, like I believe that you are going to be seeing stories like this with XRP holders. People had XRP back from the earliest of days, 2013, 2014. You may even see people that are getting XRP now and forgetting about it or thinking they lose access and then selling it a decade or 15 years from now. I will not be surprised to see that stuff pop up. This is not exclusive to Bitcoin. I think a lot of the reason you haven't seen it yet is because XRP, you haven't seen the movement, because even if somebody regains access to an account, you haven't seen a new all-time high in 6.5 years. But when that changes, which I personally believe it will, I think you're going to see more stories that like this pop up, but for XRP. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo.